You checked your bank account this morning, and something felt wrong. Not dramatically wrong, not overdraft wrong, just off, like there's a slow leak somewhere you can't quite find. You're working, you're earning, you're not. Being reckless. But at the end of every month, there's less left than you expected, and you can't explain where it went. So you scroll through your transactions, looking for the culprit. And what do you find? Not one big expense. Not some obvious mistake. Just line after line of small charges. $9.99 here. $14.99 there. $6.99. $12.99. $4.99. Some you recognize. Some you forgot existed. Some you're not even sure what they are anymore. And here's the part that really stings. You do the math in your head and realize you're spending more on subscriptions than you are on groceries, more on services you barely use than on things you actually need. And the worst part? You didn't even notice it happening. This isn't an accident. This is by design. The subscription economy was built to be invisible. It was engineered to feel painless. And it is quietly, systematically, draining your ability to build wealth in ways most people never fully understand. But I'm going to show you something today that might genuinely disturb you. Because the real cost of your subscriptions isn't what you're paying each month. It's what that money could have become over the next 10, 20, 30 years. And when you see that number, you're going to realize this isn't about being frugal. This is about defending your financial future from a system designed to keep you paying forever. Nobody tells you this about subscriptions. The real problem is not that they are expensive, but that they are cheap. That is the trap. When something costs $9.99 a month, your brain does not register it as a meaningful expense. It categorizes it as basically nothing. You would hesitate before spending $120 in one transaction, but 12 small payments of $9.99 barely feel like money leaving your account. This psychological blind spot is known as the friction gap, and companies invest billions engineering it. Years ago, buying a movie required a deliberate choice. You went to a store, selected a product, paid for it, and owned it. There was friction, awareness, and a clear moment of decision. Today, you sign up once, enter your card once, and then money flows out, automatically, indefinitely, without conscious attention. The decision fades, but the payment continues. The counterintuitive truth is that the subscriptions that feel most affordable often cost the most in the long run, because affordability creates permanence. Anything cheap enough to ignore becomes expensive enough to matter over time. You rarely cancel what you never think about, and what you do not cancel quietly compounds against you for years. This is why someone earning $80,000 a year can end up with less savings than someone earning $50,000. The difference is not income. It is leakage, the slow, silent erosion of wealth through dozens of small commitments made once and forgotten indefinitely. If you've been watching this channel, you already know that the focus here is not on surface-level finance advice or generic tips like cutting out coffee or tracking every expense in a spreadsheet. That approach rarely leads to real wealth. Instead, the emphasis is on the deeper architecture behind financial decisions, the systems, the psychology, and the long-term mathematics that quietly shape outcomes over decades, not days. Subscriptions are one of those hidden leverage points, not because any single subscription will ruin you, but because unconscious recurring payments expose how you truly relate to money. They reveal whether you are deliberately in control or whether you have handed your financial decisions over to autopilot. If, at any point while watching this video, you recognize something about your own spending that you had not noticed before, take it seriously and act on it rather than simply acknowledging it and moving on. Insight without action has no value, and action is the dividing line between people who actually build wealth and those who only think about it. If this level of depth is what you are looking for, consider subscribing not for the numbers, but because without a deliberate reminder, this video will likely fade from memory, And years from now, you may still be asking where your money went. Let's continue. Most people think about subscriptions the wrong way. They evaluate them in monthly terms, $15 here, $10 there. And because each charge feels small, they assume the impact is small as well. That is linear thinking. And linear thinking is one of the primary reasons people remain financially stagnant. A $15 subscription does not cost $15. Over a year, it costs $180. Over a decade, $1,800. But even that framing is still linear. The real cost is what that money could have become. If the same $15 per month were invested in a broad market index fund earning an average 8% annually, it would grow to roughly $2,700 in 10 years. $8,800 in 20 years. And more than $22,000 in 30 years from a single forgotten subscription. Multiply that by the 8 to 12 subscriptions the average American household carries, and the result is not a minor budgeting issue but a six-figure difference in lifetime net worth. The most dangerous part is psychological. You never see the wealth you didn't build. Never feel the loss of the portfolio that never existed. Every subscription is not just a recurring expense, it is a recurring decision to delay compound growth, to trade long-term financial security for short-term convenience that often goes unused. This is not frugality math, it is opportunity cost math. And until you think in those terms, you will continue making decisions that feel insignificant, but quietly reshape your financial future. Let's get specific, because vague advice leads to vague results. The first thing you need to do is conduct what I call a subscription audit. Not a casual glance at your bank statement. A forensic examination. Here's the process. Pull your last 3 months of bank and credit card statements. Every account. Every card. Don't skip the ones you rarely use, because those are often where forgotten subscriptions hide. Search for every recurring charge. Look for patterns. The same amount, on the same date, each month. Flag anything that repeats. Categorize each subscription into one of 3 buckets. Essential, meaning you use it regularly and it provides clear value. Marginal, meaning you use it occasionally but could live without it. And ghost, meaning you forgot it existed or haven't used it in months. Now here's where most people stop. They identify the problem, feel briefly motivated, and then do nothing. Don't be most people. For every ghost subscription, cancel it today, not tomorrow. Not this weekend, today. The longer you wait, the less likely you are to act. Motivation is a depreciating asset. For every marginal subscription, ask yourself one question. If I had to resubscribe to this today, would I? If the answer is anything other than an immediate yes, cancel it. Here's a number that might shock you. Studies suggest the average American spends approximately $219 per month on subscriptions. But when surveyed, most people estimate they spend around $86. That's a $133 monthly gap between perception and reality. That's $1,600 per year you didn't know you were spending. That's $16,000 per decade. That's a down payment on a house. That's a year of retirement income. That's real money pretending to be nothing. And by the way, I haven't even gotten to the psychological trap yet. The one that explains why you keep subscribing even when you know better. That's coming. But first, let's talk about what happens after the audit. Canceling subscriptions feels like deprivation. And deprivation doesn't stick. You'll cancel everything in a moment of motivation, feel restricted for a few weeks, and then slowly resubscribe to half of it. This is why willpower-based approaches fail. You need a system instead. I call it the replacement framework. And it works like this. For every subscription you cancel, you don't just eliminate the expense. You redirect it. You take that exact amount and set up an automatic transfer to an investment account, same day of the month. Same amount. The only thing that changes is the destination. Here's why this works. Your brain doesn't register the loss. Money was leaving your account before. Money is still leaving your account now. The habit stays intact. The behavior stays automatic. But instead of funding someone else's business, you're funding your own future. Let's run the math on a real scenario. Say you cancel the following. A streaming service you rarely use, $15.99. A premium app subscription you forgot about, $9.99. A gym membership you haven't visited in months, $49.99. A cloud storage upgrade you don't need, $2.99. And a music service you could replace with a free tier, $10.99. That's $89.95 per month. Let's round it to $90. You set up a recurring $90 investment into an S&P 500 index fund. At an average 8% annual return, here's what happens. After 5 years, you have approximately $6,600. After 10 years, roughly $16,500. After 20 years, about $53,000. After 30 years, over $133,000. From subscriptions you weren't even using. This isn't about sacrifice. This is about redirection. You're not giving up anything. You're reallocating money from invisible waste to visible wealth. Now let's talk about why this keeps happening. Why smart, capable people end up trapped in subscriptions they don't need and barely use. It comes down to 3 psychological mechanisms, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. The first is commitment escalation. When you subscribe to something, you're not just buying a service. You're making a micro-commitment to an identity. Netflix subscriber, Spotify user, premium member. And once that identity is established, canceling feels like a small failure, like admitting you were wrong. So you keep paying to avoid the psychological discomfort of quitting. The second is the sunk cost trap. Every month you've paid for a subscription makes the next month harder to cancel, because if you cancel now, what was all that previous money for? Of course, that money is gone, regardless of what you do next. But your brain doesn't process it that way. It treats past payments as a reason to keep paying, which is exactly backward. The third is perceived optionality. This is the sneaky one. You keep subscriptions not because you're using them, but because you might use them someday, eventually. You're paying for possibility, not utility. And companies know this. They design their services to feel essential, even when they're not, to make you believe you'll miss out if you leave. But here's the reality. If you haven't used something in 90 days, the probability you'll use it in the next 90 days is almost 0. You're paying for a hypothetical future that never arrives. Understanding these mechanisms doesn't automatically free you from them, but it does give you a framework for recognizing when you're being manipulated. And recognition is the first step toward resistance. There's a reason the early stages of wealth building feel so discouraging. And it's the same reason people give up on subscription audits after a few months. It's the boulder problem. Imagine you're trying to push a massive boulder up a hill. At the beginning, you're putting in enormous effort for almost no visible movement. You're straining, sweating, grinding, and the boulder barely budges. This is what investing $90 a month feels like in year 1. You check your account and you have $1,100. It doesn't feel life-changing. It doesn't feel worth the sacrifice. But here's what most people don't understand about boulders and about compound interest. At some point, if you keep pushing, the boulder reaches the top of the hill, and then physics changes. Suddenly, you're not pushing anymore. The boulder is rolling on its own, picking up speed, building momentum. And all that early effort starts paying dividends you never could have achieved through effort alone. This is what compound interest does. The first 10 years feel like pushing. The next 10 years feel like guiding. And the 10 years after that feel like watching something unstoppable grow. The $90 per month you redirected doesn't feel significant today. But in year 25, it's generating more in annual returns than you're contributing monthly. The money is making money. The snowball is rolling downhill. And all because you kept pushing when it felt pointless. Most people quit during the pushing phase. They see the small numbers and assume the strategy isn't working. But small numbers become medium numbers. Medium numbers become life-changing numbers. The math is guaranteed. The only variable is whether you stay in the game long enough to benefit. Let me address the objections you're already forming, because I know they're there. Objection 1. Inflation will eat those returns anyway. Fair point. Inflation is real. But here's what you're missing. The alternative to investing isn't avoiding inflation. It's paying subscriptions that also inflate. That $9.99 service becomes $12.99, becomes $15.99. Your subscriptions inflate too. The difference is, when you invest, your money grows faster than inflation over long time horizons. When you subscribe, you just pay more for the same thing, forever. Both paths have inflation. Only one path builds wealth. Objection 2. What if the market crashes? Markets crash. That's not a maybe. That's a certainty. But here's the thing about crashes. They're temporary. Every single market crash in modern history has eventually recovered and gone on to reach new highs. If you're investing monthly through dollar cost averaging, crashes are actually your friend. You're buying more shares at lower prices. You're accelerating your wealth building during the exact moments that scare everyone else away. The only people who lose money in crashes are the people who panic and sell. If you stay the course, crashes are opportunities disguised as disasters. Objection 3. I don't make enough money for this to matter. This is the objection that keeps people poor more than any other. Because it's not about the amount, it's about the habit. If you can find $50 a month in subscription waste, that's $50 a month you can invest. And $50 a month at 8% for 30 years is over $74,000. That's not nothing. That's not irrelevant. That's a cushion between you and financial catastrophe. Wealth isn't built by people who waited until they had enough money. It's built by people who started with whatever they had and let time do the heavy lifting. Objection 4. Life is short. I want to enjoy my money now. I hear this one a lot. And here's my response. Are you actually enjoying these subscriptions? Are you getting joy from the streaming service you open once a month? From the app you haven't touched in weeks? From the membership you keep meaning to use but never do? This isn't about denying yourself pleasure. It's about recognizing the difference between spending that creates joy and spending that creates nothing. Keep the subscriptions that genuinely improve your life. Ruthlessly eliminate the ones that are just habit. Let me show you two people. They're the same age, same income, same starting point. The only difference is how they handle subscriptions. Person A subscribes freely, doesn't track, doesn't audit, assumes it's all small amounts that don't matter. Over 25 years, they spend approximately $65,000 on subscription services. Much of it on things they forgot they were paying for, things they rarely used, things that provided virtually no value. At retirement, they have whatever they managed to save through other means. But that $65,000? It's gone, evaporated, untraceable. Person B does the audit, cancels the waste, keeps only what they genuinely use, redirects the difference into investments. Over those same 25 years, they accumulate a portfolio worth over $180,000 from that redirected money alone. Not from earning more, not from some windfall, just from closing the leaks and putting the savings to work. That's a $250,000 difference in net worth. From the same income, the same opportunities, the same life circumstances. And here's the part that really matters. From the outside, these two people look identical. They drive similar cars, wear similar clothes, live in similar neighborhoods. But one of them is building genuine financial security, and one of them is slowly bleeding out through 1,000 invisible cuts. The subscription trap isn't obvious. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like a trap while you're in it. But the cumulative effect is the difference between financial freedom and financial fragility, between options and obligations, between retiring with confidence and retiring with fear. Here's what I want you to understand about time. The decision you make today about your subscriptions isn't just about this month. It's about every month after this one. It's about the next 5 years, 10 years, 30 years of compounding that either happens or doesn't based on what you do right now. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't get this time back. The money you've already spent on forgotten subscriptions is gone. The compound growth you've already missed is missed. I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. I'm saying it because the only thing worse than past mistakes is future mistakes. The only thing worse than what you've lost is what you could still lose. So here's what I want you to do. Before you close this video, make one decision. Pick one subscription you know you don't need, one obvious candidate, and cancel it. Not later, now. Use your phone, pull up the app, unsubscribe. It'll take 90 seconds. Then take that same amount and set up an automatic investment. Doesn't matter if it's $5 or $50. The amount matters less than the action. The action matters less than the habit. And the habit matters more than anything else. Because here's the real secret to building wealth. It's not about big moves. It's not about perfect timing. It's not about earning more, or wanting it more, or being smarter. It's about tiny, boring, consistent decisions made over long periods of time. The subscription trap is just one example, but it's a powerful one because it reveals whether you're in control of your money or whether your money is on autopilot flying towards someone else's destination. Take control, make the decision, and let compound interest fight on your side for once. If this was valuable, leave a comment telling me one subscription you're canceling today. That public commitment matters more than you think. It's not for me. It's for you. It's accountability. It's a stake in the ground. And if you want more content like this, content that goes deeper than surface-level tips and actually changes how you think about money, subscribe. Not for me. For the version of yourself 5 years from now who will either thank you or wonder what happened. The choice is yours. But the clock is already running. I'll see you in the next one.